Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call to order our meeting of our nominating committee. Roll call, please.
Mayor Biassiata.
Here.
Mr. Love.
Here.
And Ms. Mersman.
Here.
We have 3 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. This morning, we're going to talk about nominating our president and vice president for our next term. A little background. On January 23rd, 2024, a letter from the nominating committee was emailed to all board members announcing that nominations were open for the office of president and the office of vice president. Letters of interest were due February 29th in 2024. The nominating committee received 2 letters, one from Mayor Kumar for president and one from Trustee Welch for vice president. Trustee Welch, any statement you'd like to make at this time?
No, I just am always grateful to serve on this board. Again, I've been a transit writer since I was a little girl, and being on this board has truly been a privilege to actually serve our region in this way. So I appreciate your consideration, and thank you.
Thank you. Mayor Kumar couldn't be with us today, but he did send a letter to be read into the record. Dear nominating committee members, I had the pleasure of being elected by my Cuyahoga County Mayors and Managers Association colleagues to serve on the Greater Cleveland Regional Transit Authority Board of Trustees, beginning in March of 2021. I write today with earnest intent, seeking the nomination of the office of President on the Board of Trustees. Prior to being elected mayor of the city of Bay Village in 2017, I spent 16 years on city council, serving as president from 2012 to 2016. I hold a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and began my professional career in public accounting as a certified public accountant, eventually expanding my business skills into a management role with Cleveland Clinic. Over the course of my career, I have been fortunate to attain various certifications and complete numerous leadership and development courses, which continue to prepare and guide me in my roles. I'm a proud graduate of the Leadership Ohio class of 2020 and Leadership Cleveland class of 2021, and remain active with the organization on the Recruitment and Evaluation Committee. Both my public and private sector backgrounds provide me with an extensive familiarity in budgeting, forecasting, auditing, reporting, standards, and compliance. I am able to collaborate closely with top-level executives and government officials at all levels to garner support and seek assistance that promotes advancement and growth. I will work diligently to ensure all matters of the board continue to be handled professionally with strict confidentiality and according to the governing bylaws and policy. I believe the role of government is to serve the community and be responsive to the needs of its constituents. I find this to be equally true of our work at RTA. I would leverage my knowledge and skills to help guide the Board of Trustees on a path of continued opportunity, growth, and success. It has been a pleasure working with RTA, and thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Mayor Paul A. Kumar. Are there any committee members that would like make any comments regarding these nominations at this time? Any board member as a whole that would like to make a comment?
Yes, is there write-ins available?
No, there are not.
Oh, okay, so I'll hold my name out.
All right. Recognizing no further comment, I'm going to move to approve through our committee to bring to the annual meeting for a vote on our president, potential for Mayor Kumar, and the candidacy of Trustee Welch for vice president. Do I have a second?
Second, Love.
All in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposed? Great. The nominations have moved to the full committee, to the full board, I should say, for a full vote.
Mayor, may I say that I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to serve the full term limit as president, and I'm wishing our good friend Mayor Kumar and, of course, Ms. Welch the best as they will take charge after next meeting, rather.
Absolutely. I move to adjourn this meeting at 9:06. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned. We're now going to move on to our committee meeting of the Organizational Service and Performance Monitoring. I'm going to call this meeting to order also at 9:06. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mayor Biassiata,
Here.
Mayor Kumar, Ms. Pachetti, Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
and Ms. Welch.
Here.
You have 4 committee members present. You have a quorum.
This morning, the Organizational Service and Performance Monitoring Committee has one item on our agenda. It's an RFP procurement. The item is for the competitive negotiated procurement for rail landscaping services for a period of 3 years with 2 one-year options for renewal. Floor is yours, sir.
Good morning, Chairman Biassiata, committee members, and members of the board. My name is Jason Rosenlieb. I'm the manager of rail facilities and janitorial. I, along with Sharon Contrell Peffer, procurement manager, will be presenting on rail landscaping. Okay, rail landscaping services. The landscaping areas are the red line, 17 stations, blue line, 6 stations, green line, 5 stations, waterfront, 5 stations, operating facility, and owned land, 27 areas, with a total of 60 properties that are visited and maintained. Scope of services include a spring cleanup, a fall cleanup, green roof and bioretention basin maintenance, bed maintenance, turf maintenance, and pruning. Previous contract versus current contract. Current is a RFP, request for proposal. It's a single point of contact. We interview potential vendors to discuss quality of service and prevent future issues, evaluated on numerous criteria, including qualifications, understanding the scope of services, ability to provide services, project management, project approach resources, and cost. Previous versus current contract continued. Previous was a IFB, invitation for bid. It was 2 separate contracts, a rapid transit ground maintenance and turf maintenance, and was only based on the lowest responsive and responsible bid. Cost was the primary criteria. Sharon?
Thank you. This request for proposal was issued in December 2023, and it was accessed on our website by 32 interested parties. We had 3 firms who proposed and 2 firms were interviewed. Our evaluation panel consisted of members from Central Facilities Maintenance, Office of Business Development, Office of Administration External Affairs, Safety, and Procurement. Our evaluation criteria consisted of the qualifications and past performance and experience, the understanding the scope of services and the approach to providing those services, project management and project management software, project approach and their resources, as well as cost. We're recommending Pierce Company Landscaping and Snow Plowing LLC, who's located in Wickliffe, Ohio. They have a 17% DBE goal, which will be achieved by using Top Designer Landscaping LLC. Pierce Landscaping and Snow Plowing LLC is a family-owned company in business for over 40 years. They serve a variety of large clients. They've successfully performed on several authority contracts. They're a qualified project manager with a management team, and they have sufficient equipment, vehicles, and staffing. Clients include GCRTA, Cleveland Food Bank, Cuyahoga Community College, Cuyahoga Valley National Park, Northeast Ohio Regional Sewer District. Staff requests that the Organizational Services and Performance Monitoring Committee recommend an award to Pierce Landscaping and Snow Plowing LLC to provide rail landscaping services for a 3-year period with 2 one-year options in an amount not to exceed $1,181,147.07 for a period of 3 years, and for each option year, an amounts not to exceed $401,616.12 and $405,632.28, respectively, for a total contract amount not to exceed $1,988,395.47. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, just at a high level, the scope of services that we've had in the past compared to this contract, are they more, the same, et cetera, et cetera?
It's about the same. About the same, very close.
So it's an apple to apple. And then my next question is always budgetary, is how does this contract compare to, from a price standpoint, from the contract that's currently in place?
It's in line with previous.
So you say it's flat?
It's
Or-
not flat, but I don't know exactly. We've added some additional,
It's gone up, but with the times with COVID, but I would say with,
surcharges.
yeah,
for
with
gas
surcharges and gas. I mean,
So-
gas is up 50.
Could we say that it's consistent with inflation?
Yes, yes.
And I believe it was also the lowest price, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
it was.
Of the ones we submitted, or that we received.
Okay, any other committee members that have questions? Mayor?
Follow up on the scope of services. You were referencing the stations, the number of stations on each line, but is the landscaping and cleanup also between the stations, or is it only at the station?
Correct, all
So-
GCRTA rail properties, so it
Okay.
encompasses everything.
Okay.
Any further questions or comments? The board as a whole?
Yes. This may be a question for RTA leadership, but within right-of-way and the stations, is there any priority relative to native plants? I mean, I see here invasive species management is part of the scope, but prioritizing planting of native plant species, but then also on the right-of-way, in addition to grass seeding, is there any current policies relative to native pollinator or other plantings along the right-of-way?
Mr. Love, how are you?
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Chairman Biassiata, members of the board. I'm Fonse Caver, the Chief Operating Officer. So I just want to make a clarification. In the right-of-way is taken care of by our internal RTA staff. So if you're between stations and you're looking at those hillsides, that's ours. If we're between stations and it's sort of in some of the shaker areas, then Shaker will maintain the areas along Green Road and Van Aken, and then ours will expand to mostly the footprint of the station. So in those right-of-ways, we don't do planting. It's kind of wild if you're thinking of the red line hill slopes. And so we don't have that process. When we conduct new stations, say the East 34th Street station or the East 79th Street station, the engineering staff does prioritize native planting to be planted around those stations.
Thank you.
Any further questions or comments? Wonderful. Then I'm going to move to advance this procurement for landscaping services to our full board at our next meeting. Do I have a second?
Second, Mayor Weiss.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any committee members opposed?
I will be recusing myself.
Oh, then we'll do a roll call. Roll call
Okay.
on the motion that was seconded to move this procurement for rail landscaping services to the full board.
Okay. Mayor Biassiata,
Yes.
Mr. Sleesman,
Abstain.
Mayor Weiss,
Yes.
and Ms. Welch.
Yes.
Okay, we have 3 ayes and 1 abstention. Does that constitute a quorum? That's 3
Yeah,
of
3 of the
6 committee
5.
members.
Well, four quorum, 4 of the 6 people voted.
Okay. 3 of
And
the
the majority of the quorum moved the measure.
Okay,
My understanding of Robert's rules that this is moves forward.
okay, thank you.
I move to adjourn the RTA Organizational Service and Performance Monitoring Committee at 9:15. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Meeting's adjourned.
I would like to call to order the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee. Teresa, roll call.
Ms. Welch,
Here.
Mayor Kumar, Mr. Love,
Here.
and Mr. Sleesman. You have 3 committee members present, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. We are going to start off this presentation today with the RFP procurement, a presentation of the competitive negotiated procurement for construction inspection services for Tower City East Portal construction project, we have two presenters. We have Engineering Project Manager Kirk Dimmick and Project Contract Manager Jonathan Lully. You can now have the floor. Good morning.
Is the microphone on?
Good morning, Chair Welch, Board President, members of the board. My name is Kirk Dimmick, and I'm the Engineering Project Manager for Bridges here at RTA. And I'm here today to present the Tower City East Portal Construction Inspection Services to the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee. A couple of months ago, I was here presenting the construction project for Tower City East Portal. So this view may be similar to what you saw a couple of months ago. The location, again, is located at Huron and Ontario Streets, just east of Tower City. The portals go underneath Ontario Street and into Tower City. So for this project, we are looking to hire an independent construction inspection services. These views before I showed you, this is standing on the east side of the portals, looking at those east entrances to the portals. You'll also see on the left that silver spanning bridge. That's a pedestrian bridge that comes from Tower City into the Rocket Field Mortgage that has a series of windows. That's a good viewing point of this project as it's ongoing over the next couple of years. The slide that I also showed last time on the right is where it illustrates track 8 goes down below into a lower level. So as we move into this contract, we needed supplemental DCRTA field staff for approximately 18 months that they'll be footprinted onto the property, the contractor itself, adding consultant staff where we need technically qualified inspection coverage. This is a unit price contract, so we will be monitoring quantities, quality of work, monitoring the testing that goes on, and it's broken down into 4 specific categories of improvement work. We've got structural concrete replacement and rehabilitation. The retaining walls that you saw going down on track 8 as you went down into that lower level, that's the retaining wall that has to be rebuilt. And then this project is primarily driven by the drainage. The portals currently do not drain well, so we have a series of clean-out locations identified. We're also doing improvements. That has to be monitored daily, each day, to make sure we're getting those systems cleared and functioning. And then as part of that work, track improvements and signal reinstallation is involved. So now I'd like to pass this on to procurement.
Good morning, Jonathan Lawley, Program Contract Manager. The request for proposal was issued on October the 9th, 2023. It was reviewed by 13 parties, 3 firms submitted a bid, and 3 firms were interviewed. The evaluation panel on this project came from the Engineering to Project Development, the Safety Department, Finance, Operations, the Office of Business Development, as well as Procurement. The evaluation criteria, as dictated by the Brooks Act, are the project manager, the assigned staff, past performance, project approach, location majority work, and DBE participation. For this project, the most technically qualified firm was Quality Control Inspection Incorporated. They're going to meet the 13% DBE goal assigned to this project by using Quality Control Services and Resource International. Quality Control Inspection, they've successfully completed projects for the RTA, the City of Akron, the Turnpike, ODOT, among others. This firm, their personnel are experienced and familiar with the GCR RTA rail projects, as they have been on many of them. For this project, staff requests this committee to recommend award to Quality Control Inspection Incorporated for the Tower City East Portal Construction Inspection Services contract in a total negotiated amount not to exceed $499,649. Any questions?
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions from the committee? Or the board as a whole? Yes, Mayor Weiss.
If you could just remind me, the contract we passed, either the last meeting or the one before for the portals versus this. This is obviously separate from that main contract?
Yes, that was a construction contract, an IFB, that hired Great Lakes Construction Company to perform that work. That was a little over $15 million for that contract. And then this supplements our staff. We have construction managers that manage the project throughout the construction. And then these are our daily inspectors that we're bringing in to count the quantities, monitor the progress of work, and report back to construction managers and the rest of the team here at RTA.
Okay, so this is being driven by RTA's request, not a funding source or anything else for inspection services?
It's a good cost control measure that we employ, not necessarily on every project. We have daily inspectors, but certainly on the larger ones we do, and specifically on the unit price ones to control that. They're only paid for, the contractor, Great Lakes, is only paid for what's actually finished, put in place, and accepted.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions? Okay, do I have a motion to move the services for the Tower City East Portal construction project to the full board?
Motion, Love.
Do I have a second?
Second, Sleesman.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We will now move this RFP procurement to the full board. Thank you so much. We will now have a change order presentation of a proposed negotiated increase to the contract number 2023-030 for the rehabilitation of track platform bridges over West 117th Street. You can continue.
Good morning. Chair Welch, Board President, members of the board. My name is Kirk Dimmick, and I'm the Engineering Project Manager for Bridges. This is a bridge, as opposed to the portals. So this morning, I'm bringing the proposed change order for this rehabilitation of track and platform bridges over West 117th. And again, I'm presenting it to that Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee. Just have a couple of slides I'm going to go through this morning. One's a picture and one's an engineering drawing. So hopefully I don't get too technical on everybody. But here the photo, we're standing on our tracks looking eastbound at the station at West 117th Station. You can see in the upper left corner of this slide the platform is in view. So I'm standing right at the right-of-way line where Norfolk Southern butts right up against us to the south. That's track 1. And that property line, this is pretty much how it goes all the way down through on the red line. We're very close to them. What I'd like to note in this slide is that you're looking at two bridges where we're standing. The bridge starts right where that curb, the concrete curb starts in the lower center part of the slide. That's the beginning of the bridge, and it goes 100 feet. It's a 100-foot-long bridge. Below us is West 117th. A very busy street, carries over 10,000 cars a day. So in order to do this project, we have to engage both upper part of the project here on the top side and also down on West 117th. So there's a lot of controls, restrictions on this project. Whenever we're within 25 feet of Norfolk Southern, we have to engage in an agreement. They approve all our design aspects, our procedures, right down to the minute by minute, what piece of equipment are you using? Our tracks here are 16 feet across, or 16 feet separated from our track to their track, so we can't do the project unless we sign the agreement with NS. So we do that ahead of time, and in design, we work out the details of how we're going to engage this rehab project. So in this slide, you can see the stone looks like standard track construction. Our side is a gray, like a lighter gray on the left. On the right, it looks newer. It's like a newer gray. They have been surfacing for the last 10 years to maintain the profile of their track, somewhat driven by what was happening down at the S-curve about 3,000 feet to the east. So when they've been raising their track, so putting more and more stone up against that fence line. We own the fence, we own the concrete curb, but you notice in this view, there is not a concrete curb on their side. It's just stone. So they're leaning on us right now. So envision in this picture, we have to replace everything you see to the left. And when we do that, that stone is in an uncontrolled state, unstable state, and it would fall down on West 117th. So that's what NS's concern was. So we worked it out in the agreement. We all agreed how it would be done, who would do it, and they changed their mind after we engaged the contractor. So we went to construction with that approved plan, approved agreement. They changed their mind, and again, we still have to abide by their approval. So when we get down into the construction project and we're making our submittals that match the plan that was previously approved, they can either say yes or no. And if they say no, we can't move forward. And in this particular case, this was the very first part of the project to start track work, phase one. Have to control the stone first. So I'm going to show you an engineering drawing just to get a spatial of where things sit. It looks like the tracks are at the same profile, the same level, but in this next view you'll see their NS to the right is higher. So we're replacing on the left our bridge deck, removing the track and the ballast, and you can see that concrete curb that's right next to the fence that's exposed that we saw in that view previously controls where that stone is. That squiggly line to the left is our stone. The straight line to the right is where at the top of the cross tie of NS, that's where their stone is. So if you remove everything to the left, all that stone cascades down onto West 117th. The solution was that they agreed to was to install this red beam that we have. That's the crux of the change order here that we're talking about. They delayed us because they redirected, and then when they redirected, they did not respond in a timely manner. So this beam will be installed to control that ballast, the stone, and then we can start the project. So they were supposed to do that last fall, and they did not. They did not respond in a timely manner. But at this point, we have things turned around, and we're on a redirection to where this month they're putting that beam in for us. But literally, we can't start the project until they do that. So we finally have our ducks in a row, but I'll leave it to procurement to go over the numbers here. Jonathan?
The base contract for this project was authorized by Resolution 2023-36. The contract amount was $7,563,549. The change order signing authority for the GM on this contract is $500,000. Of this $500,000, we've used $24,111.93 for 3 change orders. Therefore, there's $475,888.07 remaining in the GM signing authority. Now, during the solicitation phase of this project, RTA, provided their plans and everything to Norfolk Southern, which were approved on March 8th, 2023, which is prior to the notice to proceed being issued on July 12th, 2023. After the notice to proceed was issued, Norfolk Southern changed courses and required redesign, and also indicated that their forces have to perform the installation of the ballast retainer. As a result of this redirection and lack of timely responses, unexpected delays were created. From the notice to proceed time to the contractual project shutdown due to the City of Cleveland and City of Lakewood request to have construction stop on December 15th for snow plowing purposes. This then created the contractor schedule delay of 254 days. 120 of those days belong to the winter shutdown of work. This proposed change order is in the negotiated amount of $765,000, and it will cover the delay costs of the contractor for this project. This request was reviewed and approved by the RTA Change Order Committee. And for this request, the staff is requesting that this committee recommend approval of the proposed change order to Suburban Maintenance and Construction Incorporated in a negotiated amount not to exceed $765,000. And this will create a new contract amount not to exceed $8,352,660.93. We are also requesting that the general manager's change order authority be reinstated to $500,000. Any questions?
Thank you. Do I have questions from the committee or committee of the whole? Trustee Sleesman?
So I just want to quantify this. Norfolk Southern changed their mind. We had 254 days of delay, 120 of which were for winter. So 134, which because of the change in opinion. And then that change of opinion on their end also led to $750,000 more in the contract?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Just a clarification, was there any indication as to Norfolk Southern's initial reconsideration? Like, what was the justification for that, or that was not provided?
For their change?
Yes.
They did give us some indication that their resources became available at the time when we first struck the agreement. They told us that they simply did not have resources to install the beam, and that had changed. So it was really their resource staff had changed. And then when they looked at them installing the beam, they wanted to do it a different way. So again, when they're doing the work, I can't control their crew and tell them exactly what to do. But they tell us in our plan how it exactly has to be put in. Their crew, their boots on the ground, didn't like how it was laid out. So that was, in essence, the redesign.
Thank you for that clarification. And was there any attempt at negotiating with the city of Cleveland and Lakewood around that winter period shutdown, potentially revisiting the ability to, do the work?
So this particular area at West 117th is prone to flooding as well. And we get these really odd events that occur not only in snow, but in flooding, and it floods 8+ feet at times in there. And the contract, the way it's put together, I was saying you had to work on the top and the bottom to work in the middle of the road. And once you set that zone for that type of work, I can't just pull out in a moment's notice. So there's some risk that we were managing with that, and the city understood it, we understood it, and we set it up originally to have a shutdown in the first winter, but when we added the additional days onto the end of this current contract, it kicked into the second winter. That's the additional painful part. So we're managing that risk. We felt that the contractor would push back if we told them he had to work in the winter, in that second winter, to get it done sooner. In other words, they couldn't get it done before the end of next year. It spills over into 2025, unfortunately. So we had a lot of conversations with both cities, and again, we have Lakewood and the city of Cleveland at this border. So there's two jurisdictions that we're looking to satisfy.
Thank you.
I just had a quick one. With the timeline, should this move to the full board, how quickly does that beam get installed?
We're looking to install that this month.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Yeah, the beam
Fantastic.
should be in the second half of March, and then the contractor will footprint in mid-April after the big events here in
And with
Cleveland.
I'm so sorry. Continue. So sorry. I thought there was a pause there. Apologies.
We're trying to wait until after the eclipse and other major
I see.
items. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. And then also with the spring and then the heavy rain, do you foresee them wanting to make any more changes to this contract or foresee any more delays? I mean, considering the heavy rainfall would,
Yeah, the contractor is aware of the condition
Okay.
down there. So it's a risk that the contractor manages with weather. So we have those in place, even in the summer if that happened. But it's just a day that comes and it goes. But
Great.
compounded with cold temperatures, it would really increase the risk significantly.
Thank you. Mayor Wise?
Can we take a step backwards here for a minute? I just want to make sure I'm following what's going on. Is RTA picking up all of the cost for this project, including the beam that's on the Norfolk Southern side of the track?
Correct.
Okay. So we're following their direction on what needs to be done, but it's solely at our cost.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. And we had a signed contract agreement with Norfolk Southern on the design?
Correct.
Then they changed their mind and essentially was in breach of the contract.
Yes.
We picked up the...
And so now it's costing us $760,000.
So at this point, I'm going to ask Janet Burney to respond for legal, and Mike Shipper can respond for the operational need for the project, because the request is to move forward, and so that is definitely a capital project that needs to get completed, and there's a component to that as well to keep the service moving in a safe manner. But there's also the compensatory portion. But one has to precede the other if we are going to take advantage of the calendar year. So that conversation can be had as well. So I'll start with legal, and then Mike, you can toggle back and forth with Kirk regarding the operational need for the project. Thanks.
Thank you to Trustee Welsh and to the board. Good morning. My name is Janet Burney. I'm the General Counsel for RTA. As you can see from the diagram that Kirk has shared with you, we have tracks that run adjacent to Norfolk Southern, and this is the case at various places throughout our system. And so we try to work very closely with Norfolk Southern to make sure things move smoothly. It's not always the most equitable, I would say, situation. But we have been involved in working with the engineering staff and other departments through this change order process. And we're going to continue to review this matter and advise whether or not there is any possible delay claim against Norfolk Southern. But we also want to consider whether or not it's practical to do so and whether it's legally supportable and in our best interest, given the fact that we are involved in a number of different transactions and projects that impact Norfolk Southern. But it is a concern. I will want to reassure the board of that. That has not gone unnoticed by management, that this particular delay, the NS delay as well as the winter shutdown is costing us, well, it cost our contractor expenses, and the contractor, rightly so, has sought to be compensated for the costs because they had people ready to go, and then of course we weren't able to proceed.
So is it fair to say that we're still looking into possible claims against Norfolk Southern at this point?
It's something we're looking into. That's as much as I can say at this point in this setting.
Yep, I understand.
But again, bear in mind that we engage with Norfolk Southern on a number of different matters.
Okay.
And so you have to make sure, we want to make sure that we keep the lines of communication open. I think as Kirk has indicated, they have authority and jurisdiction that we don't, and so we have to seek their approval to do even certain things that are adjacent to their tracks, but on our property. Mm-hmm. So that we want to make sure that we are able to keep maintain a productive line of communication. But again, we are aware of the fact that this delay impacted us significantly. We do not take lightly the cost of the delay.
Let me interject for just a moment. If I can ask Kirk and or Mike or whoever might be pertinent from the engineering community, what happens or what's the risk if we do not move forward with this project for the area that's affected?
Well, I mean, this is a pretty significant project, $7.5 million contract. This is one of our worst conditioned bridges in the system. I mean, that's why we've been working to get the project done. And it's certainly a type of project that we want to have done before the new rail cars show up. But the bridge condition is one of our worst, so we want to address it. And it's a very difficult location to work. I mean, obviously taking that track and bridge out next to Norfolk Southern is a pretty significant activity. We'll be single tracking around the platform for a while. It is certainly my hope that that beam and ballast retainer will be in place before you actually vote on this change order at the end of the month.
Thanks, Mike. I just wanted to impart just a little bit of the management wisdom as to the reason that we're bringing this in front of you, given the back and forth at legal advisory. Norfolk Southern is definitely a powerhouse player in the rail industry. They are quite large and quite influential when it comes to right-of-way and when it comes to the ability to even access some of our own systems. We are very rarely in front of you without full resolution for any claim that might be provided to a potential vendor. But what I also wanted you to do is understand the reason why we feel that this is important to bring in front of you and the implication that it might have further on down the line as far as service and safety for the area, and also understanding that we are coming up on springtime. So if we do lose that window of construction, we likely would be pushed out of this year. As my personal opinion would be that, and this is not a legal opinion, but would be that we would be in litigation for quite some time that may not be resolved immediately. And as far as the operational and benefit risk kind of matrix that we go through from a business perspective, the need to do this project trumps the financial impact of this program. And I will ask Raj to make sure that that's an accurate statement to ensure that we can confirm that we're able to pay for the work that we're putting in front of you today. Raj?
Thanks, India. So we are looking at considering the importance of the project. We will be using local capital dollars, but we're continuing to do the research to see if any similar projects in the track and bridges areas have some funds that can be reallocated. Of course, that would require FDA approval, but right now we are going to employ local capital dollars, and we're okay.
Thank you. Oh, Trustees Mersman.
Thank you. So just a confirmation and then a couple of questions. Norfolk Southern is supposed to install that ballast beam, correct?
Correct.
And then if this work starts as soon as possible under the proposed resolution, do we think it will be complete by by the winter of 24-25 coming up, or do we anticipate going into 2025?
The project will go until towards the end of 25.
Okay, so we have definitely one more winter season. The risk is incurring a third.
We will. We'll
ultimate
have that
total.
winter shutdown unless the contractor chooses, if he has an opportunity to do work above without the need for down below, he'll continue working above. There's opportunity in phase 2 that where they're working to the north, they're not next to NS. As soon as we get rid of phase 1, now we're in the happy space. We're to the north, working on the platform, bridge, and the westbound bridge. So
Okay.
quite possibly they could work through the winter.
Understanding the parallel and very proximate nature of the Norfolk Southern and RTA tracks, and that almost anything that we want to do on the tracks runs up against that. I have two questions around that relationship. One, on bridges like this specifically, would that beam remain in place as a standing ballast for any future work so that we wouldn't continue to revisit this? I mean, is there some way that, including with this work, that we can reinforce that separation in a way that simplifies future projects?
That is a good question. We did address that in design. It was decided that that is a temporary beam, and we're installing a permanent ballast retainer underneath our bridge, which, if you look on the left of this slide, right underneath the fence in the center of the slide, bolted to the bottom of that curb or that piece of concrete, it'll slide over and touch and close that gap. So we'll stop the stone from dropping. Currently, stone freely falls whenever NS plays with their stone. And they always call us because they think we're not controlling our stone, but obviously we are because it's inside that tub shown at the left. But theirs is in a free fall state. So we'll install a permanent ballast retainer. That age of the deck of their bridge is quite old. And they just replaced the NS bridge superstructure over Madison, just to the east, about 1,000 feet down. So it's on their timeline. We're just not sure when that whole bridge will be replaced. But when they do that, we should be whole. They shouldn't really impact us. We'll certainly have to turn power off when they're working this close, and single track when they touch right up against us again, because they'll need the full width to rebuild that structure. But it shouldn't be the same relationship where we have to interrupt service or close service. It'll just be some temporary single tracking.
And I imagine we probably don't get the right to review their designs and issue approval.
Typically, they send us those documents. That's part of that open line of communication.
Okay.
We talk a lot on various projects. I have 2 others that are in play right now with bridges. Essentially, all the bridges that I'm dealing with on rail touch NS. So we would know when they're planning this.
Thank you, that's helpful. It seems as much as possible with these capital projects as we can reinforce that dividing line and our mutual reliance on each other's structures, that will pay dividends into the future. So as there are opportunities to do that, it seems prudent to make the most of them. And then my final comment, it's more of a comment than a question, but just in terms of the agreements with Norfolk Southern, understood that they are large and powerful. But given that we will need and do have many agreements with them, it also feels like anything we can do to protect our own interests and finances, not in an antagonistic way, of course, but just in the course of project changes in those agreements seems reasonable, and would be interested in understanding, perhaps after this meeting, what we can do in that regard just to evenly share the burden of project developments and changes.
Thank you, Trustee Mersman.
So I will say that my directive to staff has been to continue with the investigation of what the next steps can be from a claims perspective, as agreed by General Counsel. We debated the efficacy of holding today versus moving forward, and it's in the best interest of the authority to move forward with the project while simultaneously determining the best course of action so that we don't endanger other projects in terms of delay, right? But we will come back to the board with an update on what the legal advisory on this project is, and we would more than likely either do so, whatever is prudent, executive session versus open forum, but we'll make sure to come back to you with the progress on this project to make sure that we don't get ourselves into a trick bag going forward, but we do want to make sure that we can continue to keep the service safe and running.
Do you have a motion to move the contract increase to the full board?
So moved, Sleesman.
Second, Love.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, this contract increase will move to the full board on March 19th. We will now move to our final presentation for the day. Thank you so much for the presentation. We are going to move to a spring service update, an update on the spring change, major springtime public events, and rail infrastructure work that will affect customers this summer. We will now have presenter director Joel Freilich. You now have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good morning, members of the committee, members of the board. I'm Joel Freilich, Director of Service Management. Here you have the outline of my presentation. It has 3 parts. Highlights of our spring quarterly service change is the first. Second one is springtime special events that we want to bring to the board's attention. And third is some rail infrastructure projects that affect riders this summer. So let's talk first about the quarterly service change. Has several components worthy of mention. It will improve access to jobs by providing later weekend service to Solon and Glen Willow so that the ending time on Saturday and Sunday nights will match the current ending time on weekday nights. It will improve access to education because our service to Tri-C West Shore campus, which operates on weekdays during the daytime, will change from an hourly service to a half-hourly service. The service change also has a number of adjustments. Usually they fly below the radar, but they result in better on-time performance and service reliability. Some of these include adjusting the scheduled time points along a route and the layovers at the end of the route. Some of them adjust scheduled running times, the amount of time that the schedule allows the bus to go from one time point to the next. And in a couple of cases, we're adding additional trip to the route just around the time that a large numbers of students are arriving for school or departing from school to prevent overloads that negatively impact service reliability. Turning to the next subject, springtime special events. The first one up is St. Patrick's Day, Sunday, March 17th. We will do our usual pattern of adding capacity to accommodate the crowds. The women's Final Four will be played here in Cleveland on April 5th and April 7th. We will add capacity if necessary. It may not be because the size of that venue is not as large as the other 2 sports venues. The Guardians home opener coming up on April 8th will require some additional capacity to make sure that we can accommodate the crowds. And then we have these eclipse-related events throughout the community, but the ones that actually that deserve special attention are, there's a lot of activity planned for Wade Oval, a lot of programming there to accompany the eclipse. That is an area which is exceptionally well served by many RTA routes, Red Line, Health Line, and several bus routes. There is enough capacity to handle the expected crowd, but we are going to expect to see some people who aren't our usual customers. And then at the lakefront, that's important because, as you know, the most convenient way to get to the Science Center on an RTA route is the waterfront line. So we will run daytime waterfront line service on April 6th, 7th, and 8th. We have the advertised programming that's going to happen at that area. There's a whole sequence of scheduled events starting as early as 10 a.m., ending as late as 5 p.m., and we will ensure that you can get there on the waterfront line even if you desire to be in your seat before the first event or in your seat to the last event. Beyond April, we have a Rolling Stones concert scheduled at Brown Stadium June 15th. It's in the evening. It's likely to be a sellout crowd, and we will provide evening waterfront line service. A little more on the eclipse. We want, as a measure of safety and just goodness toward our employees, we have acquired eclipse sunglasses. And we are doing a lot of advertising and internal communication to remind people about safe viewing during the eclipse, which we hope employees will take to heart and share with their families. And so we have that going on too. Let's talk about the rail infrastructure projects that will be affecting riders this summer. On the west side, you heard Mr. Dimick talk to you about the West 117th Street bridges, and there will be some weekend shutdowns in which buses will replace all West Side Red Line service in order to aid the various stages of that project. There will also be single tracking. On the east side of town, from June 9th to June 22nd, we will have a shutdown of East Side Red Line service. Buses will replace that service, and our own forces will work on replacing overhead cables and signal wires. Once that shutdown is completed and trains return to Windermere, buses will replace all rail between Tower City and East 55th. Many of you have experienced that. We had that last year as well. And during that time, our forces will be changing ties, tamping, and replacing cable. Once that work is done, there'll be a period from July 7th to August 3rd when buses will replace the blue and green line in the manner that we have always done and for many years, where the buses serve all blue line stations and the key green line stations. During that time, our forces will be changing ties, tamping, and updating feeder boxes. And during all three of those, there's sometimes opportunities for some work done by an engineering project, as what we call piggyback. Take advantage of the fact that the rail is clear of trains to get done something important, including, for example, there will be some work done this in various opportunities for the East Portals project. So a very complicated multi-year project that Mr. Dimick talked about. At this time, I'd be happy, Madam Chair, to take any questions if there are some.
Thank you so much. It's great to see all of the good work that's coming down the pipeline. I just have a question. Is there a cleanliness and safety plan in place with the increase in ridership? We already have just regular plans in place, but it just with the extension of individuals coming into the city and more people riding and us open up the waterfront line more, just wondering, just for the record and for the public, what kind of thoughts you all had about extending our cleanliness services and security.
Good morning, Chair Welch, members of the board. I'm Flauance Caver, Chief Operating Officer. So the answer is yes. Whenever we have major events, we take the opportunity to both ensure that our regular cleaning has the place clean at the start, but we also have teams that are available throughout those days to make sure that whatever time you were to get on the train, that you have an opportunity to see our trains and our system at its best. And so we do have staff that's around during all of those events to make sure that the place is clean.
Thank you.
Thank you for the presentation. I'd like to take this opportunity to understand a little bit more around our regular summer maintenance, specifically on this slide. So is the work on ties, tamping, cable, feeder boxes, that sort of thing, a regular thing that we do annually during the summertime?
Yes, it is. The strategy that we have as a maintenance team and as well as a construction team from engineering is to continually upgrade the track infrastructure. And so it is a strategic way that we're looking to manage. I'll just give you kind of the opposite. There have been leaders of transit agencies who have averted these types of items because you don't want to shut the system down. Well, what happens is the system gets to a level of disrepair such that a safety event or something occurs, and now you have to shut it down by federal safety organizations and things of that nature. And so every summer, we will have a construction plan that allows us to regularly move through the system in order to change ties, to deal with our feeder boxes and our overhead lines, and to provide the general maintenance. And so we have metrics that look at the number of ties replaced. I don't know the exact total number, but maybe it's 10,000 ties a year if we were to change every tie by the life of the tie. And so the majority of that in the summer, if the number is the number 10,000, Mike?
Yeah, there's a target of 10,000 with usually 1,500 to 2,000
done internally.
Internal forces, and the balance in our larger track reconstruction projects.
Yep. And so every summer we do so. And so the way that our capital program is that you'll see portions of the track are being renewed every year. And so 5 years ago, they were all on the red line. And over the last 5 years, there have been components of the light rail line, the shaker lines, that have been renewed. So yes, every summer we'll come to you with a plan that allows us to strategically go through and renew the system.
Thank you, that's helpful. Looking into the future, do we see any opportunities to shorten the length of the service impacts, or in any way do the work in a way that doesn't impact rail service quite so much?
The one thing we can really be sure of is that we can confine these shutdowns, if we know about them well in advance, we can confine them to summer. Summer is really important because the school kids have a harder time with adjusting their path to school and adjusting their path home. So we work very hard to try to confine these, which we've successfully done, to the school summer vacation. The only exception is some schools go to school 12 months a year. We can't solve that one. But that's very important. And the other thing about having such a measured way, and we try to do them in 2-week intervals because it helps us schedule the buses, 2 or 4, multiple of 2 weeks. So that helps us schedule the buses, and also it enables all of our communications to customers. And I will just give a nod to Natoya's team. There's been a real improvement in how these things get communicated to customers. You'll see we've papered Tower City with signs. It's very clear how to get around social media, et cetera, et cetera. We're doing very well with communicating these things. And a disruption, when it's well communicated, planned, and scheduled, is nothing like as painful as a sudden one. Mm-hmm. So I don't know for sure whether these intervals will get shorter, to address your question, but I can assure you they will be really well planned, executed, and communicated.
Trustee Love.
Thank you for the overview. And I guess the question I had is around the service impact for the summer. Has the agency ever looked at kind of the, I guess the best way to put it, the financial impact? Is there a reduced ridership during this time period with bus usage? I know we saw in the traction report there was maybe some dips around service.
There's certainly a small, I think nowadays, a relatively small portion that just don't ride RTA because their rail service was replaced by bus service. So there is some portion that does that because you know, they have a car available for the trip and they were just riding RTA to save money and no other reason, and the car was sitting there available to them and they didn't use it. So they might switch to the car. But as you know, for more of our riders, RTA is their car. This is the way they need to get around. So they just want to know, what's the schedule? When should I leave home? Should I leave home at the same time or a little earlier, so that I can still accomplish my objectives? So, you know, I hope that addresses your question.
So it may be a minimal
Yes.
change.
Yes. Yeah. It's relatively small nowadays. Yeah.
And so then I guess my next question is, have we ever thought, you know, holistically around, for the folks that, again, majority of them maybe don't have another option, so the bus then is their primary during the rail disruption. Have we ever thought of any incentives during the, you know, knowing that these are, you know, coming, their routine summer maintenance, you know, we want to make sure that their customer satisfaction is still high. Anything we've thought of relative to that?
So probably the most important thing we do is, it's very important to us to keep the buses moving quickly, okay? Trains move quickly because you don't really sit at a stop a long time worrying about fare collection, okay? Whereas a bus, it does take time to collect fares. So we made a decision, and we reinforced that decision many, many times over the decades, that when we run replacement buses, we want to open every door at every stop. You can get in any door you want, and we are not going to slow you down by collecting fares on the replacement bus service. So the main purpose...
Oops, sorry, Joe. Wanted to jump in for a little bit regarding some explanation on the fare revenue. Just want us to remember that the fare collection is roughly about 10% of the total revenue, so it is a minimal, so this will have minimal impact on revenue. Most of the other revenue that we have are already under contracts, so we will be continuing to get that revenue.
So,
sorry, Joe.
That although it was intended to speed service, it wasn't really designed to lower the price. But between the sped up service and no fares, it does have that customer relations benefit that we, hey, pardon our dust, we're going to get you there as quickly as possible. And by the way, we do a pretty good job of getting you there fairly quickly. So, and we advertise the schedule, we post it, it's on your app, it's on the website, so you can plan to be at your destination on time. So I think it's the communication.
One thing, if I could add to the conversation really quickly, is that it might behoove staff to be able to think about a post debrief after the summer. So I'm even thinking about like the fall, it would probably be winter, fourth quarter, because we report, I'm thinking traction, a quarter in arrears. So that might be interesting to be able to have a debrief of kind of how we did, and also look at our, I don't want to say on-time performance, but basically how is the bus shuttle compared to your regular service, to make sure that we actually can say, hey, yes, we actually move the same amount of people. Your average time, I'm just making this up for impact, 30 minutes on the train, maybe you were 45 on the bus, that kind of thing, to be able to say that we were actually able to do these amount of reroutes. Every summer is a little different with all of the impacts going on, especially with some of the construction and some of the special events. So a lot of our detour heavy season is in that summer area. But I think it would behoove us to be able to just have a debrief probably after all of that is over, and be able to have a look back to see how we were able to perform. And you're correct, see a lot of that in the Net Promoter Score, and you'll see a lot of that in the customer satisfaction. But that's also, and you'll see the scorecard as we update the board for 2024, is very heavy in the customer experience bucket, because these kind of things do have a tendency to impact how customers feel about us as a whole. So I would just suggest that we take a look at this particular 2-3 month period and come back to the board just as information.
Thank you. Any additional questions? Oh, yes, Trustee.
Two more comments than anything. Number one, the all-door boarding to speed up the buses. I'm appreciative of that. I'd also like to see that not only during rail shutdowns, but maybe more broadly used elsewhere in the network. And then secondly, along with communicating the shutdown, I think it would behoove us to have a brief, maybe an FAQ section or something like that, but tell communicating to our customers why this is happening and the benefits to them. I know I've heard a number of comments. It's, oh, this happened last summer. Why is this happening? Well, yeah, it's going to happen. This is why we're doing it, though. When there's not an understanding of why, like they can plan around it, but it's a lot easier to swallow when you know exactly the benefits that are coming to you for a brief inconvenience that will therefore benefit you for the rest of the year.
If I may, so our PIO, Bob Fleeg, is in the back. He is working to incorporate those justifications, I hate to say that word, right, but reasonings as to why we have those major shutdowns or delays in all of his press releases. So we'll make sure Natoya mark that down to ensure that that language is included in there. We've done that a few times, I want to say most recently, and it's been really helpful. So thank you for that. And then also an FAQ on the website might be something I agree would be helpful. We just have to get people used to steering them toward reading it. So how we would post, we can definitely talk through that as well, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. However we get it out there, I don't want to micromanage that, but whatever social media posts or other posts, just have a, this is why this is happening.
Any additional questions? I believe that's it then. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. Do I have a motion to adjourn the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee meeting?
Motion to adjourn, Love.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We will now adjourn the Operational Planning and Infrastructure Committee meeting.
All right, thank you very much. We will now call to order the RTA Committee of the Whole Board. Roll call, please.
Okay, President Lucas,
Here.
Mayor Kumar, Mayor Biassiata, Mr. Love.
Here.
Ms. McPherson. Here. Ms. Mersman.
Here.
Ms. Pachetti, Mr. Sleesman.
Here.
Mayor Weiss.
Here.
And Ms. Welch.
Here.
You have 7 committee members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. And we will have a code book update for the Dawn, are you going to do it this time?
Yes, I am.
Oh, wonderful. Associate Counsel.
Good morning, Reverend Lucas, members of the board. I'm Dawn Tarka. I'm an attorney in the authority's legal department. This morning, we're here to present some proposed revisions to the codified rules and regulations. By way of background, we have codified the board's policies in 1989. We're performing a review to update the code book to bring those policies in line with the current operations of the authority. And these policies are subject to review and revision every 3 years. Today, we are presenting some recommendations regarding the Community Advisory Committee, and there's a red line of the proposed markups in your board package so you can see the exact provisions. We're suggesting to add 2 sections, 22204 A4C and D. Those 2 provisions relate to just a statement that meetings are public meetings and held in public. And the second is to provide for the Community Advisory Committee to give notice of its meetings in exactly the same manner as the board does for its meetings. And then in section 222.04B1, we are proposing to change the number of members from a range of 11 to 15 to a set number of 15. And we're making a corresponding adjustment in the number of members whose terms renew in the same year. And that's in order to make that calculation of the number of members who renew in the same year a little bit simpler. It's easier if you have a set number rather than a range. We're also proposing in section 222.04B2 that we add some language stating that members with emeritus status do not have the right to vote, hold office, or be counted towards a quorum. Our recommendation would be that the Committee of the Whole recommend these provisions to the board for approval. Are there any questions?
All right, questions to our expert on the code book. None or yes?
Just one question. I know the CAC has recently convened under the leadership of Trustee McPherson. Did the members go over this and participate in the suggested changes?
Yes, we had our first meeting, it was last month, and we discussed these changes, and it's pretty straightforward, so thank you.
I would make a motion to forward on to the board.
Second, Welch.
All right. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. Now, am I correct that there's no emeritus status for members of the Board of Trustees? Is that right?
I believe that's correct.
All right. Well, maybe I need to work on that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Always do a good job.
Thank you.
All right. And now we'll have our audit report. He's back from Washington, where I understand he made a fantastic presentation. So we're glad to see you back safely. Tony Garofoli.
Thank you, Reverend Lucas, members of the Committee of the Whole, executive leadership. My name is Anthony Garofoli. I'm the Executive Director of Internal Audit, and I'm here to present the results of the internal audit activities for the fourth quarter. I'll be referring to the report at your table. On February 21st, we presented these activities in detail to the Audit Committee. Today's presentation is a summary, and then I'll also mention the internal audit proposed 2024 plan that's subject to approval at the special board meeting today. On pages 3 through 5 of this report is the internal audit plan for 2023 that we presented to the Audit Committee in March and we've executed throughout the year. Per our professional standards, this plan was aligned with the GCRTA strategic plan and performance metrics. Moving on to pages 9 through 15, please find the results of the audit projects completed during the fourth quarter. These are the employee travel expense and requests, healthcare and employee dependent eligibility, engineering project controls and project support, employee hiring practices, petty cash, post-delivery Buy America review of compressed natural gas vehicles, parts inventory, configuration management, an audit of the Safety Department internal audit process as part of their Public Transit Agency Safety Plan, and a cybersecurity assessment that was completed in December. We met with management, received the responses to our audit recommendations, and released the reports. We will track the implementation of the recommendations within our audit management system. There were no issues for board consideration during the quarter. On pages 16 through 20, please find the results of our continuous auditing program, where we develop audit scripts to interrogate system data in real time, completing 100% audits for the transactions. Those audits included fare collection, procurement card transactions, paratransit eligibility and certifications, nepotism, and payroll audits. Again, we shared the results with appropriate managers and stakeholders. There were no issues for board consideration. On pages 21 through 24 is the report section focused on the rail car replacement program. Per the request of the Audit Committee, we included the results of our audit activities related to the entire program with a focus on change orders and contractor payments. In November 2023, the Board of Trustees authorized the exercise of an option under contract 2021-125 with Siemens Mobility for the purchase and delivery up to 6 high-floor light rail vehicles. In December 2023, management issued 2 change orders: spare parts, which were 4 additional couplers, and modifications of contract specifications or special conditions. which is increasing the number of cars not conditionally accepted. Internal Audit conducted a change order audit to provide assurance on compliance with GCRTA procurement policies and procedures. No exceptions were noted. We included a copy of the change order log maintained by the procurement department in the report. The section includes a summary of the Federal Transit Administration's project management oversight efforts, including a Buy America review and project management oversight. Moving on, pages 25 through 31 are projects in various stages of completion. Please note that we added updates to provide our readers transparency and information status. The section includes projects where fieldwork is complete and where we are waiting on management responses to release the report, which is our standard process, and projects we are actively completing. We will report on these projects at the next audit committee meeting. Pages 32 and 33, please find the details and results of special projects and emerging issues. We are completing these projects in our role as Inspector General for the GCRTA. They are incompatible employment, salary non-bargaining exempt comp time, and an audit of Transit Police Office of Professional Standards, which is their internal affairs process for investigation. On page 34 is our efforts to work with external auditors. Be advised, the state auditor is on site. They're conducting the 2023 financial and single audit. They are scheduled to share the results with the board in executive session in about the June time period. The remainder of this report is informational. We continue to follow up on audit recommendations to validate corrective actions are implemented. We participate in several steering committees and meetings to learn and share risk management strategies. On page 38 is the training staff attended during the quarter. And then the last page is our staff profiles. Before I say a few words on the audit plan, I'll take any questions from the committee.
All right, questions to Mr. Garapoli? Questions to Mr. Garapoli? All right, go ahead, Tony.
Yes, sir. In accordance with board policy and our audit charter, I'm required to submit annually a risk-based internal audit plan. We reviewed the methodology and proposed plan with the audit committee on February the 21st, where they recommended the plan to the Board of Trustees for approval. The plan is detailed on pages 6 through 8 of your report in front of you. As required by our professional standards, the internal audit staff completed an annual code of ethics and independence statement to reconfirm awareness and to disclose any circumstances which may impair their ability to be independent on any audit. And with that, I'll again answer any questions about the audit plan, and then I'll refer back to President Lucas.
All right, questions of the plan? Questions about the plan? All right.
Thank you.
Garapoli?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. All right, may we have a motion to move this report on to the full board?
So moved, Mayor Weiss.
Is there a second?
Second, Welch.
Is there a second? All right. Do we need a roll call on this?
Oh, that's up to you. Would you
All
like
right.
one?
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. All right. I think that concludes our business up to this point. Is there a motion that we adjourn?
So moved, Mayor Weiss.
Second, Mersman.
All right. There's never a debate on that. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
All right. Nobody opposed. Thank you very much. This concludes our committee meetings for today. Is that right? Is India? All right. And we'll see everybody on the 19th. Is that correct?
To the chair, we do have
there
a
a
special
special?
board
There's
meeting
a special,
to
yeah.
vote on Tony's report.
Oh,
So that's the last item in the book, the special board meeting.
We have executive, right? Right now? Okay. All right. Special RTA Board of Trustees meeting. Call to order.
All right, Mayor Biassiata, Mayor Kumar, Mr. Love.
Here.
President Lucas,
Present.
Ms. McPherson, Ms. Mersman,
Here.
Ms. Pachetti, Mr. Sleesman,
Here.
Mayor Weiss,
Here.
and Ms. Welch.
Here.
You have 7 board members present. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Certification regarding notice of meeting.
Okay, Mr. President, I first advise that notice of this meeting has been published more than 24 hours in advance of the meeting, that the usual notification has been given the news media and other interested persons, and that all requirements of the Ohio Revised Code and rules and bylaws of this board regarding notice of meeting have been complied with.
All right. All right,
Just
we
one-
approve the internal audit plan. We need you back or no? Any questions to Mr. Garofoli? Any questions to Mr. Garofoli? Boy, no questions today, Mr. Garofoli. Means you're doing a good job. You're not doing a job at all. That's wonderful. All right. Thank you so very much. Do we need to send this anywhere?
Yes, we need a motion and a second.
All right, may we have a motion to approve the internal audit plan?
So moved, Mayor Weiss.
Second, Mersman.
All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, anything else?
Yep, that's it.
All right, we can adjourn again. We have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn, Welch.
Welch,
Second, Mersman.
thank you very much. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thank you very much. Any other pages in here? All right, thank you very much. And I'll see you on the 19th. Is that right? So, Attorney, let me see you, man.